Deltas. The armed wing of the Chapitos violence in Sinaloa.
America, the U.S. Navy just did something that would have been completely impossible under the Biden administration. They destroyed a massive cartel lab on Mexican soil, and Mexico actually helped them do it. But here's something that's gonna blow your mind. The single operation represents a complete reversal on everything we thought we knew about the drug war.
Well, the southern border is essentially locked down, so that's forcing these cartel organizations, these smugglers, back to the seas. But U.S. Customs and Border Protection, they're more prepared now. They have a lot of federal partners down here working with them. And if you don't stop, when they try to pursue you, they'll make you.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Most people think cartels are untouchable in Mexico, and most people believe that Mexican government protects these criminals, and in some cases they probably do. But what just happened in Sinaloa proves that everything has changed under the Trump administration and Trump's leadership. This wasn't just another drug bust. This was the U.S. Navy conducting military operations inside of Mexico with full Mexican cooperation to completely destroy the Los Chapitos drug production capabilities. And the results are already staggering. Fentanyl trafficking is down 64%, and nearly 500 million deadly doses have been kept off American streets. In this video, I'm showing you exactly how Trump flipped Mexico from cartel protector to cartel destroyer, and why this could be the beginning of the end of the entire drug trade. Let me break down what just happened, because this should have been impossible. The U.S. Navy, working directly with Mexico's Attorney General and the Mexican Navy, conducted a joint military operation deep inside cartel territory in La Palma, Sinaloa.
Land crossings are becoming more difficult. Smugglers are moving out to sea.
They've already had 350 different incidents where they've had to shoot out the engines of these smuggling vessels. They do have a protocol. They try to get these individuals to stop first. If they don't, then they fire warning shots. If they still won't stop, then yeah, that's when they quite literally bring in the big guns. They have to shoot out these engines.
Think about this for a second. Sinaloa is the birthplace of the most powerful drug cartel in history. This is where El Chapo built his entire empire. This is the territory that cartels have controlled for decades. And now U.S. forces are conducting military operations there with Mexico's blessing. They didn't just make arrests. They seized over 250 kilograms of methamphetamine in production, 650 liters of liquid chemical precursors, and 2,425 kilograms of solid precursors. That's enough raw material to flood American streets with millions of doses of deadly drugs.
Vessels. And right there, you can see the beginning of the border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. You can see it jutting out into the ocean.
But here's the most important part. They completely destroyed everything. The entire laboratory, all the equipment, all the chemicals burned to the ground to ensure that they can never produce drugs again. This lab belonged to Los Chapitos, the most violent fraction of the Sinaloa cartel.
Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations are now expanding their criminal operations into a wide range of violent and high-profit crimes. CJ&G and the Naval cartel are now directly involved in stealing crude oil from Mexico's state-owned Pemex.
These are the same criminals that have been at war with each other since September 2024, turning parts of Mexico into literal battlefields. But what we're seeing is a direct result of Trump's pressure campaign on Mexico. For years, Mexico protected these cartels, and maybe in some ways they still do, and looked the other way, and even actively interfered in U.S. anti-drug efforts. But Trump changed the game with a simple message: help us destroy these cartels or face economic consequences. The numbers don't lie. Fentanyl trafficking has dropped 64.3% under Mexico's new cooperation with the Trump administration. That's nearly 500 million deadly doses that didn't make it onto American streets. To put that in perspective, that's enough fentanyl to kill every person in America twice. Between October 2024 and February 2025, U.S. Customs and Border Protection seized only 564 pounds of fentanyl at border entries. Compare that to the 1,586 pounds seized by Mexican authorities under the previous administration between May and September of 2024. But here's the most telling statistic. December 2024 and February 2025 saw only 24 to 25 pounds of fentanyl seized respectively. These are the lowest monthly seizure volumes since 2021. This isn't because we're missing the drugs. It's because there are dramatically fewer drugs being processed and trafficked. When you destroy the labs, you eliminate the source. The La Palma operation wasn't a one-off event. In April 2025 alone, Mexican and U.S. forces neutralized 20 narco labs using cartels to produce synthetic drugs. 20 labs destroyed in a single month. That is unprecedented. Most of these labs were found in the heart of cartel territory. These aren't random raids. This is a systematic campaign to dismantle the entire drug cartel production infrastructure. Trump's strategy is brilliant in its simplicity. Make it more expensive for Mexico to protect cartels than destroy them. The threat of tariffs and economic sanctions gave Mexico a choice: help us or face the consequences. And Mexico chose cooperation. President Claudia Sheinbaum's administration is now actively facilitating joint operations that would have been unthinkable under the previous Mexican governments. The equipment destroyed in these operations represents millions of dollars in cartel investments. Liquefied petroleum gas tanks, chemical drums, industrial blenders, and all the sophisticated equipment needed for a large-scale drug production now reduced to ash. What makes this approach so effective is that it targets the source of the problem than just the symptoms. For decades, we've been playing defense, trying to catch drugs at the border after they've already been produced. Now we're playing offense, destroying the production capabilities before the drugs can even be made. The La Palma lab was strategically located in a small mountainous community of about 300 residents near the Chihuahua border. This location was chosen specifically because cartels thought it was beyond the reach of law enforcement. But that isolation that once protected the cartels is now working against them. These remote locations make it easier for joint forces to conduct operations without civilian interference or collateral damage. The proximity to the U.S. border made this lab particularly vulnerable for Los Chapitos. Drugs produced here could be quickly moved across multiple smuggling routes into Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. Now that production capability is gone forever. This operation was part of Operation Monterillo, a multinational effort led by the U.S. Southern Command. This shows the level of international military cooperation now happening under Trump's leadership, something that was absolutely impossible under the Biden administration. The destruction of cartel infrastructures is having a psychological impact that goes far beyond immediate operational damage. When Los Chapitos can't protect their most valuable assets in their own territory, it undermines their entire reputation for invincibility. Local communities that have been forced to tolerate cartel presence for decades are now seeing that even the most powerful criminal organizations can be defeated. This is breaking the cycle of fear that has allowed cartels to control entire regions. The fact that these operations are being conducted without the massive violence that categorized previous anti-cartel efforts show the effectiveness of this new approach. When you target the infrastructure instead of the personnel, you can achieve strategic objectives without triggering cartel wars. Other cartels are watching what happened to Los Chapitos and realizing that nowhere is safe. If the most powerful cartel fraction can't protect their operations in their own stronghold, no cartel is secure. The message is clear. The era of cartel impunity is over. Mexico is no longer a safe haven for drug production. America, what we're witnessing is nothing short of revolutionary in the war against the cartel. For the first time in decades, we have a strategy that's actually working, and the results prove it. A 64% reduction in fentanyl trafficking, nearly 500 million deadly doses prevented from reaching the American streets, 20 cartel labs destroyed in a single month. These aren't just statistics, these are American lives saved. The destruction of Los Chapitos lab in La Palma represents more than just one successful operation. It represents proof that cartels can be defeated when we have the political will to do what's necessary. Trump's approach of combining economic pressure with military cooperation is fundamentally changing the game. Mexico went from cartel protector to cartel destroyer because the cost of non-cooperation became too high to bear. This is what real leadership looks like. This is what happens when we stop treating the drug war as a law enforcement problem and start treating it as the national security threat that it's always been. The cartels built their empire on the assumption that Mexico would always protect them and the U.S. would always be limited to defense measures. Both those assumptions just got shattered in the mountains of Sinaloa. I'll keep you updated on this story as it develops, as these joint operations continue to dismantle cartel networks piece by piece. And remember, this is what victory looks like when we finally have leadership that's willing to do whatever it takes to protect American communities. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.